from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to an episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased for, I think, the second time or the third time to have a guest from Dubai. Ankur, thank you very much for being here on the show. Ankur, you have great experience. You have a lot to tell us. And the way I like to do on the show is to keep it to the guest to introduce themselves and tell us about what you do.
Sure. Thank you very much for actually having me here. And I am an entrepreneur who likes to create new products, new services all the time. And I just work on new ideas and turn them into a useful business. They can be a tiny idea or a big idea, anything that works. So like recently we made a story creator app, which is amazing. And we're just getting some early users for it. So yeah, anything that actually, works well, we just focus on it and try to grow it.
That's great to hear, Ankur, and I will ask a little bit more. Now, tell me a little bit like how was the journey that brought you into the tech world and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I've always been excited about, being in tech and, I used to always play with your laptops and computers when I was young. So obviously I had to get into tech. There was no other option. And yeah, so I just basically wanted to build something, amazing and, that actually serves a purpose and also use technology to kind of scale things because with this, you can actually go to a lot more people. So that is the advantage we have with using tech. So yeah, that's one of the key things that actually drives me. And then if I find something cool, something new, I basically work on that, and that gets me excited.
That's great, Ankur. Now, if you can tell me a little bit, how you saw the things changing, since the time you started till now, what were the main technologies you were working with and where you are seeing things going now?
Right, right. So I worked with, things. There was a programming language called Basic. I used to work with that early in the days, and then from there, just graduated further and further into building something with Visual Basic and C++ and all those things. And then from there, now we work on stuff with AI. I built a bunch of websites back in the day. I think about maybe 10 years ago, I used to own like 150 websites. So
Wow.
all those were basically built using Linux, Apache, WordPress, PHP. And yeah, and from there, I started a WordPress plugins business, which still runs to this day. So I love creating WordPress plugins that solve problems. And yeah, that's about it. So I think a lot has, evolved over time. And I think with AI, especially, things have become a lot smoother. Things have become a lot much better and get results much faster. Whereas, as far as coding or content goes. So yeah, you can use both those things to actually build anything you want really quickly with AI.
That's good to know, Anchor, actually. And, you mentioned that you worked with, having a lot of websites. And, the thing usually I hear from people is we struggle actually to find ideas. They say
Right.
we cannot find. So where did you get all these ideas for having 150 websites, actually?
Yeah. So basically, ideas are basically all around you, right? So if you just look for things like, talking about the latest one that I'm actually working on, like I have a 5-year-old son and he would always ask me, tell me a story. And, after a long day of work, it's really hard to be creative and come up with a new idea for a story. So I built something that uses AI to generate a story. And then I started using that for my son. And then now we have turned that into a product. And then now we have a few hundred people using it right now. So yeah, that's, ideas are basically all around you. If you see a small problem or a big problem, you can find, the shortest path to solving that and then try to solve it in a small way. And then if you see that that is useful, then you can actually build things on top of it and make it bigger and bigger.
And how important Anchor is to validate uh, the idea?
It is actually really important. Otherwise, people will not use it. People will not probably pay for it. So the best way to validate is to just talk to customers and, get to know what they're actually, like asking about and what they're using it for. There's this really cool book called the Mom Test. So if you use that book, if you read that book, it will actually tell you what exactly you should be asking your, users or your early customers, and how do you actually make sure that you're actually building something worthwhile. Otherwise, you might just be wasting your time, right?
Yeah, 100%. And like, are you fan of, let's say, having multiple ideas tested at the same time? Or do you prefer, to stick with one idea, validate it, and then move to the next one?
I prefer to at least work on one idea at a time and then just build on that and then take it to market in a very small way, and then get someone to pay for it in some way so that that actually people are voting with their wallets and not just with words and thoughts, right? When you talk to customers, you might hear really good words, but then they might not really want to pay money for it. And that is the best validation you can get for any idea. So 0 to 1, you can basically go to a small payment kind of thing, just charge even $5 or maybe $10 for the thing. If people pay for it, then you've got something there. And then from there, you can take it further. Otherwise, just work on one thing and then just move to the next one.
Yeah, that's great. Now you mentioned AI Anchor and you used in your latest product, which is I don't have any kid in the or son or daughter in that category, but you've shared with me, and it's really impressive. So, like the use cases looks to me are infinite with the AI now, especially with generative AI. But for someone like yourself who developed all these products over the years, how do you see it from your perspective?
Uh, I see, so AI is really as a great assistant. I would not say that, it might replace a lot of jobs very soon. But then if you can get really good at doing things with AI, you will be able to get a lot better results with whatever you're doing. So yeah, I'm not sure, there's a lot of conversation about AI replacing jobs. And I think AI may not replace as many jobs as people fear it will, but then it will actually get a lot of people really good at what they do, and then they might actually find themselves having a lot more free time. So like we used to spend probably like about a week coming up with a sales copy for a landing page or for a marketing site for a new product, and now it just gets done in one day. So now we have 6 days or 5 days free for us to do whatever we want from our previous, timeline. So yeah, you can actually have more free time with AI and just look at it that way, instead of trying to fear AI.
And what about like, do you leverage AI in developing the product itself?
Yeah, for like we have built few Chrome extensions, which actually have been built entirely using AI. And then oftentimes, it might get the code wrong and it might not work exactly. It might just build you pieces of the same thing. And then you can actually use some knowledge to plug it all together and then make it work. But yeah, like simpler things can be built very well with AI. And then if you're going to build complex things, then you can still use AI to solve smaller problems, right?
Mhm. And also, Anchor, I want to ask you, like, from like now we are seeing, people even with AI from non-technical background, they are able actually to build something. Maybe it's not the perfect thing, but they are able. Do you see this, especially as someone who worked for a long time in this domain? Is it a threat, or you say no? It's like it's a welcome move, and let everyone with good ideas build what they are trying to do. How do you see it?
Yeah, like there are a lot of no code tools which actually you can use to build a lot of things really quickly, and then you can actually test the market with that, without having to spend a lot of money. Like initially, you would need to spend like $100,000 building a software if you lived in the US, and then after outsourcing, you could build the same thing for maybe $20,000, and then now with a no code tool, you can actually build the same thing for $2,000 or maybe $1,000, and then quickly go to market and see if it is a viable idea or if people are liking it. And then from there, you can probably, build it from scratch again and build it properly, because I'm not sure you might get the same kind of functionality with no code tools. So for expanding on the features, you can build it using other technologies and, with people here.
Okay, that's great. Now, um, from also technology perspective, um, with because you mentioned these no code tools and the other stuff, and you mentioned that you had the WordPress plugin business, which is still. Are you seeing platforms similar to WordPress still on the same level as they were before, or are they on the decline? What are the trends you are seeing in that?
Okay, so WordPress, still runs about like 35% of the entire internet. So all the websites in the world, 35% of them run on WordPress, which is pretty impressive. And so far, we have not seen any massive, like a downturn, but we have seen a lot of new people join, after COVID, who actually have started building things, building websites and building content, building blogs. And a lot of those people actually have been using WordPress because, that's the easiest way to get started and it is free. So people just use that. And then once they start some growth, they can build something of their own, or they just continue to use WordPress and then enhance the functionality with other plugins.
Yeah, some people, like they have this, I would say, hypothesis, let's call it,
Mhm.
that platforms that claim that they can do everything, actually they would be weaker. I mean that they would not be focused, because sometimes I have discussions with people, although like I'm not in that space, like I mean from technical perspective. I build my own website. I take care of my own, I would say, digital assets. But people tell me, yeah, but like it becomes complicated because you have, for example, the e-commerce plugins, and then you have, a lot of things. But at the same time, it's the 35% out there. Do you see this a problem, or actually do you see it a good thing to be able to cover as much as use cases as possible with a product?
So WordPress itself is, I would say, a blogging platform. But then with things like WooCommerce and a few other things, it has become really extensive. And then, yeah, if you just add too much functionality to it, it might become an issue with how things work, how things connect, and how they work together. And then you just need more and more customization. And after a few years, you might think that okay, probably we need to kind of kind of rebuild things from scratch. So yeah, it might not really sustain everything, put together, but then it's a good starting point, I would say, for building anything that you want to start today. And it's free.
Yeah, of course. Like people likes anything free.
Yeah.
You just need to grab the domain, and even deploying it, it's one click and you can have it up and running. And I think this is the what people looks in any product in general, like the ease of use. And this is leads to my question, like how do you, because now especially with, for example, this new app that you have, the stories for children, and in general, like how important is the user experience from your experience?
Yeah. So the user experience is really important because you need to create something that has the least amount of, uh, you know, I would say friction. So if you build something which is very seamless and works right out of the box, it is, really, really useful for that, because then you can actually get more people to convert into, uh, into a paying customer, or into just, adopting the whole thing. Because the more you get people to use it and the more they get inside it, the more they are likely to kind of keep on using it and then, actually convert to a paying customer. Which is why, like, when we built this, we built it as a WhatsApp like bot sort of thing, instead of basically building a different app for it, because then people will have to download it, install it, and activate and then try to create an account and all that. So we thought, why not just go where the people already are and just build it on top of WhatsApp, because people spend anyway 2 to 3 hours a day on WhatsApp every single day.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's very straightforward. Um, One thing which I believe it's underrated when it comes to startups in general is they don't, in my opinion, and I want to hear your opinion on that.
Sure.
They don't care much at the beginning about scalability and security.
Right.
What do you think?
So I think scalability is probably not that important in the beginning, because if the idea is valid and then you have talked to, let's say, a few hundred maybe customers, then you can probably, get the money to build it much better and scale it from there. But yeah, security is actually super important. But again, during the initial phases of testing out the idea, you should probably focus on the customer part of it more, versus, other things which might slow you down, and then just get the idea to market as soon as possible to the right audience as soon as possible. So you know whether it is something worth spending money on or spending time on.
Mhm. Um, Now, I'm sure, like Anchor, you need to, within your team to keep innovating. So, how do you encourage, the kind of this creativity and innovation within your company?
Right. So we obviously give everyone on the team, let's say we try to solve a problem, and then I feel that, okay, this is the best way to solve the problem. But then we have a brainstorming session where we try to come up with different approaches to solving the same problem. And then if we obviously get much better ideas, we go with that. And then everyone contributes. That way they feel there is more ownership of the idea with them. And also they are able to, we are able to see solutions that we might not just see from my perspective or a few people's perspectives. So when everyone is on board, we get much better ideas, and then everyone, has their own set of things that they bring to it, and then that makes the whole thing much much better.
Mhm. And Anchor, also one question, because we are both based in Dubai. How you are seeing the startup scene here in Dubai and in the UAE in general?
Yeah, I would say there is a lot of support for startups here, and that's really really good. And I would say that there is a lot of really good teams and funds available who would actually want to invest in ideas. So that's a really good space to be in. I would say it's good to have a startup here where you want to raise funding and kind of go global. I'm not very sure that this is probably a very big market for any startup in general, because overall, like, the country is quite small and there's like a less number of people there. So yeah, you can definitely, it's a good market to validate an idea just here and then probably go global from here. And that is how I would probably say.
Mhm. And if we want to discuss, from you want to tell fellow entrepreneurs, about what they should be caring about in their early stages, what you can tell them.
I would say they should care about, first of all, having enough runway for their startup for at least a year to actually, keep on doing what they're doing. And then I would say just try to uh, go to market as soon as possible with the most key aspect of your idea as soon as possible, so that you can test that idea in a quick way before, you actually waste too much time on it. Otherwise, you have probably wasted a lot of time and you're like money on it, and then you later realize that this might not be the thing that you want to work on, and then you might have to change the idea to something else and then build that again. So the quickly you can, as soon as possible you can achieve the product market fit, you should do that, and then whatever is required to do that, you should focus on that. Basically start with a smallest segment of your audience and then go bigger from there.
Great. And let's talk about the great audience, I mean the small audience, where they should start, from where they should start. Should they spend money on ads at the beginning?
I would say there are a lot of ways to get users organically as well. So I would say if you're building something that applies to, let's say 1 million people, you should try to find the smallest portion of that audience, which has that pain or that problem in the biggest possible way, and then try to solve for that first. And then basically you can find all those people on different Facebook groups or different Instagram groups and all those things. So you can just identify them and then go there, try to pitch your idea in those groups, try to build a landing page, and then try to send some traffic there from those free groups. and then try to see how many people actually convert through. So even if you don't have, a product to actually try, you can just see how many people actually take action from going the main landing page to the sign up to something else after that. So if there's a 3-page sequence that you can build, which is completely fake, you can probably just test to see how many people will convert from page 1 to page 2 to page 3. And then that might give you a really good idea of if people actually want this or not.
Yeah, and this is very good point, I would say, Anchor, because previously you mentioned that you don't have to spend $100,000 and then figure
Right.
out that actually no one needs your product. So this is one of the easiest way. And actually, I shared about it a couple of days back. Like you don't need to spend that amount of money to build something, because I mean, not to build for sake of build, because you don't know yet if people would be interested or no. And actually, if you allow me, Anchor, like the way you validated your idea was to reach out to your friends, like you send it to me,
Right.
and like you shared it with others. And there's plenty of ways, as you mentioned, where you can validate the idea without even paying money, actually, because I feel very sad, and this is why I'm repeating this. I feel very sad when I hear people spend on ads very early, right? So it's still, as you said, they need to have a runway of 1 year, maybe. Second, they spend on development. Guys, maybe I repeated this story a couple of times, but maybe if you are a first time, listener or viewer here, go search for some of the most famous MVPs, and you will be surprised. For example, I can give you an example: Dropbox. So, Dropbox, they didn't have the product, they just had a video that shows the outcome of the problem that they were trying to solve. And then when people signed up, they said, okay, we are up to something, let's build it. So this is how you start. And, always validate the idea, as Anchor mentioned, with your friends, with some groups maybe you are part in. And this is the question I'm asking you. I want to ask you, Anchor, how important also, because we met, through a joint friend, and then, I figured out that also you have your own meetup. So how important is networking when you are in this entrepreneurship journey?
It's actually, really important to be around people who actually motivate you and who actually, work with you, give you ideas. So, which is why I have the group for the meetup, because, I wanted to just meet, like-minded people. And, it's always good to share your ideas, get some feedback from people. That might be the first circle of people who you might want to talk to about your ideas, right? So if even if they might not be the target audience, they might be able to connect you to someone who might be the audience, right? So I spoke to a friend of mine about my idea, and he said, "Okay, I know this guy who runs a company who has, 500,000 people who are parents, and that's his business. So, and that's like the perfect market for my product. So I might go there in the future, but then, initially I'm just trying to make sure that my idea is valid before I go there. So I'm just talking to, let's say, 100 parents to just make sure that what we are building is right and they would want to use it. And then after that, we might have other avenues where we might be able to scale this up without even using paid ads or any Facebook ads.
Mhm. As we are almost coming to the end, Anchor, just I have a few things on my mind. Um, so you're building on top of AI, and there are a lot of emerging techs, and someone like you been seen it all, same as me. So where do you expect the technology would be looking like in, let's say, I don't want to go very far. I will not tell you after 10 years. I will ask you maybe 2 3 years from now. Where do you see things heading?
I think in 2 to 3 years, probably specifically to AI, I think it will help us do a lot more things in a more automated fashion. So as you can see, like writing, we are already using it for writing marketing copies, for creating Facebook ads, for creating a list of products or features. Like I have been talking to about 100 parents in the last like 2 days about my product. Now I didn't know what questions I can ask them to get deeper and deeper into basically what we are building. So I just used AI to create a series of questions. And then with every question, it gave me 3 potential answers that a person might give. And then I asked AI to give me a follow-up question to every, answer I might get. So that gives me a really good framework of how I can actually study my customers and my users to actually kind of, to actually get the right input from them in terms of my idea and feedback.
Mhm. And how people can find about your application?
Yeah, so it's a bedtime storyteller for kids. It's called Ask Molly, and it's available for free at askmolly.in. And they can go to the site, and there's nothing to install. You can just press one button, it adds to your WhatsApp, and then you can chat with it as like a friend basically.
I will put that in the link. So if any parents are listening or watching us, go give it a try. I've seen it. Like although like I don't have children in that age, but of course I can relate. Like I I used to be there as well, and yeah, like it's a fantastic idea. And Ankur, well, people can find more about you also.
Yeah, so I have a site called ankurshukla.com, so they can go there and basically learn more about me. And yeah, that's about it.
That's great. I have a very famous final question. Is there anything you wished I asked you and how you would answer it?
Uh, I don't know. I think you covered pretty much, everything, and that was quite a good interview in a very short span of time. So that's really good. I think you have done this a lot of times, so all that comes from that experience, right?
Yeah. So thank you very much for this feedback, Anchor. Like, I'm not sure at the time of uh, mm, releasing this episode what will be the exact number, but yeah, I can tell you that as per the day we were recording, I hit 186 episodes. So yeah, like it's
Oh,
something I'm enjoy doing, trying to get people like yourself who are up to something, who has story to share, building interesting products. And yeah, so this is what it's all about. Really, I enjoyed the conversation with you, Anchor, today. Very good highlights about the main topics I asked you. And as I mentioned, the links will be in the episode description. And this is for the audience, guys. Like, let me know if you have any questions. And if you have any question to Anchor, reach out to me. I will pass it to him. And as usual, also, I would say if you are also interested to be guest on the show, don't hesitate. You can reach out to me directly. You can see, by the way, people will laugh. And this is what I like about what I'm doing. So when I'm recording, I see the handles up. Actually, I discovered when I publish they are down. So you can see all the links, my social media handles, you can see them down. I was saying up and figure out it's down. But anyway, you can see them on the screen. So reach out to me. I'm reachable, pretty much more active on LinkedIn. So you can tell me if you're interested in being on the show. I will be more than happy to arrange for this. And as usual, thank you for your time. We'll meet again in the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.
thank you very much for having me. It was great. Thanks.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.